Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Tuesday. I hope you're all well. I hope you had a very good Halloween yesterday. If you're out there with your kids like I was in the rain trick-or-treating, I hope it went well and the kids were happy with what they got. But we are now 2 days away from Arsenal's, I was going to say big, and I suppose it is a big Europa League game against Zurich because they still need to win it. It's not done and dusted. The defeat in PSV last week means that Arsenal have to go out and win on Thursday night to guarantee themselves top spot, which is absolutely essential because you don't want to be playing 2 extra games next year in the first knockout stage against teams who are coming down from the Champions League. So it is very, very important that Arsenal get the job done. I'll be at London Colney tomorrow. I've got the open training session first in the early afternoon, and then Mikel Arteta's press conference, I believe at the moment, is due to start at 3:30. We'll be speaking to a player as well, so keep your eyes peeled to all my usual social media channels for all the very latest from London Colney. I will speak a little bit about that game later on in this video, look at who I think might start, look at the team selection, that sort of thing, the issues facing Mikel Arteta ahead of that game. But I wanted to start today on a little bit of transfer news and discuss Arsenal's interest in Facundo Torres, a 22-year-old Uruguay international, currently plays with Orlando City over in MLS. If you were a keen observer of Arsenal's pre-season games this summer, you should know him pretty well because he scored against Arsenal for Orlando in that pre-season game during the tour of the United States. And Arsenal are interested, or they're looking at him. So my understanding of the situation, I know there's been plenty of reports on this in the last sort of day or so. So my understanding of it as it stands at the moment is I've seen people or reports saying, this is close, it's imminent, if agent is flying in this weekend to complete the deal, stuff like that. That's not how I see it at all. My understanding is still very much at an early advanced stage, and at the moment there's been no talks between the clubs or anything like that. It's very much just sort of things going on behind the scenes, and this is a move that's kind of being pushed a little bit by the Arsenal recruitment team. That's how early, as far as I'm aware, that we're at the moment. It's more of he's been identified as a potential target by the recruitment team. The recruitment team liked him. They've fed back their feedback to Arsenal. And now, as far as I'm aware, this weekend there is going to be a meeting between Edu and the players' representatives. So that's where we are. It's nowhere near a deal being done or anything like that. It's kind of moving on. And I'm sure Arsenal are going to be doing this with a fair few of their other targets they're looking at in January, because we know they're looking to sort of improve when it comes to the wingers, to bring in competition and cover for Bukayo Saka, which they desperately need. I know Reiss Nelson obviously did a great job at the weekend, but whether he's a long-term solution, we just don't know yet. He's only had one good game in a fair while for Arsenal. So they're looking at potential cover for Saka on that right-hand side, and Torres ticks a lot of the boxes. 22, the right age profile that we know that Arsenal like to go for. He's very much a right winger, but he's very strong. He's a left-footed player. He likes to cut in on his left, like Bukayo Saka. So it'd be very much a like-for-like type player. He's got a good eye for a goal. I think he scored 9 in 33 in MLS, got 8 assists as well. I think numbers are something like that. So he's got a good final ball. He's got a good eye for goal, as he showed against Arsenal with a really nice goal against them, drilling it into the bottom corner with his left foot, having sort of cut inside Nuno Tavares. It's about sort of 22 yards out, and he picked out the bottom corner. So he does tick a lot of the boxes for Arsenal. There is that big question mark over, MLS to Premier League. How would he be able to handle that gap? Because it is a massive gap. Would he potentially be able to do that? And that, that's all things that will be decided as this potential transfer moves along. But as it stands right now, it is very much at the early stages. It's more the recruitment team have been doing their analysis. They like him. They've been discussing things behind the scenes with the representatives, and now a sort of meeting has been set up with Arsenal, with Edu, to discuss it further, and that should happen this weekend. And then we'll see how things go from there. But he is a player that Arsenal are, like the look of from what the recruitment team have seen so far. And it's a sort of deal that's moving along. But, there's plenty of time until January. And like I said, I'm sure he's certainly not going to be the only potential player. He's only been at Orlando for I think he moved there in January from Penarol over in Uruguay. It cost about £8 million at the time. I don't know how much it costs now. I think he's got 4 years left on his contract, in MLS contract. So, I doubt he'd be cheap, but I doubt he'd be hugely expensive either. So it's certainly one to keep an eye on. And if you go and have a look at the YouTube videos and things like that of him, he's a very exciting looking player. Like I said, he ticks a lot of boxes when it comes to the Arsenal recruitment profile, what they're looking at right now is exciting, and want to keep an eye on. So that's, as far as I'm aware, the latest on Arsenal and Facundo Torres. Let me know what you guys think, as always, in the comments below. Do you know much about him? I have to say fully that I don't. He's just, I saw him in the summer when he scored against Arsenal. That's about the extent of my knowledge so far, apart from the YouTube videos that I've watched. My one of my colleagues who works for Goal over in the US edition of Goal has obviously seen him a lot more than me, and I spoke to him yesterday about him, and he said, look, he's a real player, he's got real potential, and he's very exciting. So I liked what I heard from him, but whether we actually ever get to see him playing in an Arsenal shirt remains to be seen, because we're a long way from that right now. Okay, so from one winger to another, and this one is at Arsenal. I spoke about him in yesterday's video. He's been generating lots of headlines since the weekend with those 2 goals after coming on to replace Bukayo Saka. That is, of course, Reiss Nelson. Now, fantastic day for Reiss on Sunday, given the last couple of years he's had at Arsenal, the loan spells. In his mind, probably thinking, am I going to get another chance at Arsenal? Well, he did, and he seized it on Sunday. I imagine he's probably going to play again on Thursday to give Bukayo Saka a little bit more time to get fit for the Chelsea game at the weekend. And he's been speaking about his future, about how he's found things at Arsenal. He's been speaking about Mikel Arteta and contract. I've got some quotes for you. I don't know if you haven't seen them yet. I put a piece out with Reiss from earlier today, but here's some of the things that he had to say, which I thought were interesting. So he was asking, have you been worried about your future at Arsenal? You're 22 now, you're not really made it as a regular, you've been worried. He said, I've never doubted myself at this football club. Arsenal is a team that I've been at since I was 8, and I have a very, very strong bond and love for the club. Of course, there have been times where I've been a bit down and I haven't played, I've been on the bench, but my plan has never been for me to leave the club or say that I have no future here. I will do everything possible to get there, which is where he wants to be. Arsenal, which is a good mindset, absolutely good mindset. I'm sure there have been times, like he said, where he's been a bit down. He's been looking at it thinking, am I ever going to get my opportunity here again? He's had his loan spells, did well at Feyenoord last season. So he had an interesting loan spell when he was over in Germany. Started so well under Nagelsmann, scored goals, but then found himself on the bench, sort of tailed off the second half of the season. So it's been an interesting couple of loan spells for Reiss. He was then asked about, he's spoken much to Mikel Arteta about your future. He said, I spoke with the boss before the start of the season. He was very clear to me. He said he's seen a transition in my game and my attitude and my whole profile as a player, which he really likes and he wants to bring to the team. He thinks I can really add benefit to the team. There was no talks with me about leaving in the summer. Now, we know Mikel Arteta is a big fan of Reiss Nelson. As soon as Arteta arrived at the club in 2019, Nelson was straight into his starting 11. He'd seen him before while he was a player at the club. He's a big fan of what Reiss Nelson's got to offer in terms of talent and ability, which never comes into question because we know how talented Reiss is. It's always been more sort of up there in how he puts it together on the pitch, how he works behind the scenes. And that was always the thing that was kind of holding Reiss back a little bit. And Mikel has been saying it publicly for the last couple of months that he's seen a big change in Reiss in the way he handles himself off the pitch, the way he approaches every day, every training session. And, that's what Reiss says here when he talks about what Arteta had to say in the summer when, there was a few question marks about whether he'd be staying or going. But according to Reiss, there was never any talk about him moving on. Arteta always wanted him to stay this season. He was also asked about a potential new deal. Now, Reiss is out of contract at the end of this season. He signed a new deal before he went off to Feyenoord, signed an extra year's extension. That runs out at the end of this season. I'm not sure if there's another option included in that. I don't think there is, but I'm not 100% sure. So there could be, and we just don't know about it. Arsenal could have the option to extend it by a further year. So we'll have to wait and see. But he is certainly very much running out when it comes to contract. I think he's going to be a free at the end of this season, but there might be that option that Arsenal can trigger. But anyway, he was asked about, do you want a new deal? Do you want to sign a new deal? And he said, of course, I only have some months left on my contract, but at this moment in time, getting a new deal, of course, it would be amazing. I'd love to commit to the club, but I'm just really, really focused on doing everything I can and possibly to do the right stuff right now. If I get to play for the team and get to do well, of course, it's hard coming on for 5 to 10 minutes. I would love to play it much, much longer, but any opportunity I get, I'm trying to take it and just do my very best to keep helping the team. So he wants a new contract. That's no surprise. Why wouldn't you want a new contract to play for Arsenal? But his focus, and this is it's the right thing. His focus right now is on just taking his opportunity when he gets it and trying to stay in his team. If he can do that, then a new contract will come his way, you would think, because he would be rewarded for good form, and he's sort of shown that he can do and be a really big asset to Arteta and his team. So I think he's right when it comes to that sort of mindset of just knuckling down, working, and then hopefully the rewards will come. But there's no doubt that he would love a new contract. Why wouldn't he? I still think he's gone a long way to go until he does that. One game against the bottom of the table in the Premier League at home doesn't mean you should get a new contract by any means. We've seen Reiss flatter to deceive at times when he has got opportunities in the past. So I think he needs to do this on a consistent basis for the next 1, 2, 3 months even, before he can really talk about getting a new deal. But then again, there is also that sort of aspect from Arsenal's point of view is he is an asset. He's only 22. He's English. He's clearly got talent. He can do it in the Premier League. We've seen that on Saturday. So do you really want to let him go for free anyway, or do you just give him a new contract now, even if you don't really see him being an integral part of the future, just so that you could potentially sell him and get a little bit more money for him? So there is that sort of thing for Arsenal to weigh up, and that's what him, the club, the agents will be talking about over the coming months, I'm sure. Let me know what you guys think, of course. So should he get a new deal, or do you think it's time to move on from Reiss and look at players like Facundo Torres, who we spoke about at the start of this video, coming in and getting their opportunity to really stake a claim for a regular first team squad place? Okay, so before I go now, quickly turn attentions to Thursday night and that game with FC Zurich. Like I said, I'll be at the training ground tomorrow, where we should get a very good update on exactly how the team is shaping up, whether Saka's training or not, things like that. Arteta does have some decisions to make. It's not ideal. He'd have loved to have been able to completely rotate and play every kid that he's got available to him in this one, but he can't, because the team isn't guaranteed top spot. So he's going to have to go strong, even with that game against Chelsea coming up on Sunday at 12 o'clock at Stamford Bridge. There will be rotation, as there has been the whole way through the Europa League, but I think we will see quite a strong side. I imagine in Arteta's mind, he's thinking, let's try and get this game done and dusted, 2-3-0 up after 60 minutes. Then we'll bring players off and throw on Matt Smith and people like that, who potentially could get some minutes in this game. So, I mean, Matt Turner, we're not sure. He's obviously didn't play at the weekend, didn't play last Thursday. I saw him after the game on Sunday while we were waiting to do a couple of interviews in the mix zone. Matt Turner walked past with his girlfriend. Didn't seem to be visibly injured, but you know that means nothing, because it obviously could. We also saw Zinchenko walk past us on a Sunday. He didn't look visibly injured, but we know that he is, because he's been out for such a long time. Ideally, Turner would be starting this game, no doubt about it, but he certainly has to be considered a doubt at this stage, considering he's missed the last 2. So there is Carl Hein, but I meant, Aaron Ramsdale. I imagine if it's not Turner, it's going to be Aaron Ramsdale. Then you've got the decisions over the centre-backs. Who plays? Rob Holding will certainly start, but then it's which one do you play alongside him? Will it be Saliba? Will it be Gabriel? Or do you move Ben White and to play at centre-back and potentially play Tomiyasu at right-back? There, some of the decisions that Mikel's got to go with. Personally, I've got a feeling we might see Gabriel for this one. I think it might be Holding and Gabriel, with Tomiyasu and Kieran Tierney as the 2 fullbacks. Or, sorry, actually, I think Cedric might well get the nod at right-back this time. We saw him get some minutes in the Premier League for the first time this season at the weekend. In midfield, there's no Granit Xhaka. We know that. He's suspended, so he's not going to be involved. So it'll be Sambi as a holding midfielder. And then you imagine it's probably going to be Odegaard and Fabio Vieira. And then up front, I mean, Saka's not going to play. Even if he's fit, he's not going to play in this one. I can't see as any way he gets it. Surely, after what happened at the weekend, if there's any doubt with Saka, you wrap him up in cotton wool ahead of the game against Chelsea. So I imagine Reiss Nelson is going to start on Thursday. He'll have an immediate opportunity to kind of rubber stamp that performance against Nottingham Forest at the weekend. So I think Reiss would probably be right wing. Eddie will certainly be the central striker. I know he played Gabriel Jesus last time against PSV at home. I can't imagine he's going to do that this time. I think you rest Gabriel Jesus for this one. You have him on the bench if needs be, but I can't see you start him. So it'll be Eddie Nketiah as a central striker. Now I've got a feeling we'll see Gabriel Martinelli play on the left. Whether that's ideal, well, it's not, because he played against PSV. He obviously played at the weekend again, but I'm not sure who else you have. There is Marquinhos there. You could potentially play Marquinhos on the right and Reiss Nelson on the left, I suppose, and have Eddie Nketiah. That is an option, but I've just got a feeling he's probably going to start with Martinelli and ideally, like I said, hook him after 60 minutes or so, have the job done, get him off and let him have a bit of a breather ahead of the Chelsea game. So those are some of the big decisions facing Mikel. Like I said, we'll know a lot more when we see what happens in training tomorrow and we speak to Mikel at his press conference. So keep your eyes peeled for all of that. All right, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. As always, anything you've agreed with, disagreed with, liked, disliked, please let me know. Always like to get your opinions in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.